Previewing the Louisiana Ragin Cajuns spring competitions, it's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Sunbelt. I am your team every day. I am your host, David Schultz. We will be in attendance for the Louisiana Ragin Cajuns spring game on tonight, on Thursday night. Not exactly your typical spring ball game because there's one quarterback. Although, isn't that the way some of us used to play when we were kids? Right? We didn't have enough guys playing, and so all-time QB. That's going back to when we were kids. Right? We'd just switch QBs. We'd have, instead of having, 6 or 7 guys per team, we would have 3 or 4, and maybe only one quarterback was the problem. So maybe we only had one quarterback. But Zeon Chriss getting all of the snaps, or at least most of them. Ben Wooldridge out with a knee. Chandler Fields having an appendicitis, although Kevin Foote from the Acadiana Advocate reporting both are throwing the football. I would presume Chandler Fields will be more ready, quicker than Ben Wooldridge would be. But it is open to the public. It is the annual Vermillion and White Game tonight, 7:30 at Cajun Field. Foote writes in yesterday's paper, with redshirt freshman Zeon Chriss as the only quarterback available in the spring, it won't be a game like scrimmage. The format will include one-on-one pass rush session, one-on-one receivers versus secondary, a red zone lockout period, special teams competition, a ones versus the twos period, and then each team will run a 2-minute drill to close out the event. Although the ones versus the twos is going to be, Zeon Chriss is going to be on both sides. Points will be awarded during each session, and Foote does list the different matchups, and we'll go over them. The different positions that fans need to be on the lookout for. When he started reading this, again, one-on-one pass rush session, one-on-one receivers versus secondary, a red zone lockout period, special teams competition, a 1 versus 2, and then each team will run a 2-minute drill to close out the event. That sounds a lot like the Senior Bowl. Outside of maybe the ones versus the twos. But one-on-one pass rush, that's Senior Bowl competition. One-on-one receiver versus secondary, Senior Bowl. Red zone lockout practice, Senior Bowl. Special teams competition, same thing. So that's what it sounds like this is going to be like. Not a pro day, right? That's a whole lot of, playing catch. This will be some competition, all right? And it'll be interesting to see how, all eyes are going to be on Zeon Chriss. How good does he look? Again, how much better does Chandler Fields have to be to hold on to that job, at least to the beginning of the season? Because you like the experience, but if Zeon Chriss is more talented, where does that line come up? That the ceiling is probably higher for Zeon Chriss, but the floor may be lower. That's an interesting question that we would ask Mike Desimo. When you're going to determine that, how close does Zeon Chriss have to be to Chandler Fields, basically? All right. Now, if he's better, he's going to start, obviously. But if, we can live with this, we can live with that, and we can live with this. If they can do that, then they may go with Zeon Chriss. But if they, can only live with, one of those 3 things, then they may not. Whatever those are, right? Decision-making, accuracy, whatever leadership, whatever the case is. It'll be interesting to see how that turns out. It's also be interesting, and so coaches used to play games with these kids, right? Especially in fall practice where they wouldn't name a starting quarterback. We would joke with the coaches, right? Who's the starting quarterback? Well, we're not going to tell you, not really to keep the opponents off guard. Some of that is, but what they would do would be wait until the semester started, right? And find out like 10 days in advance. And now you can't transfer without sitting out a year. Now the whole transfer portal is all different. It feels like these decisions come a little bit more upfront, right? Like, this is our guy. You're our number 2. You're going to have a chance at number 1. Very rarely does one guy play all the plays of every single game. You'll have a chance to play if he goes down. We would like you to stay, but if you think you have a chance to go play somewhere else, you're free to do that. I feel like the transfer portal, the coaches are more honest when that is the case. I could be wrong, but it feels like they're more upfront, and more coaches are naming their starters a little bit earlier. So they can prepare come the fall a little bit better, and give the kids, if they do want to leave, a chance to go. They were playing games before. I don't think they play the games now. I don't think that is the case. Not anymore. All right. When we come back, we will discuss the positions to watch for the Ragin Cajuns. Again, it's not a spring game. It's the spring competitions, according to Kevin Foote from the Acadiana Advocate. But first, let me tell you a little bit about FanDuel. All right. It is. The NBA playoffs are just about here. What a time to be able to get in on this with the NBA playoffs. Quickly approaching, it is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. How does that work? Can you lose your first bet on purpose? Knowing me, I'd end up winning it, right? Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line to point scores and threes drained. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with the same game parlay. So don't miss a chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, Dave Schultz back with you. Locked on Sunbelt, your team every day. Let's see what Kevin Foote is saying about the positions to watch for this spring competition tonight with the Ragin Cajuns. Again, it'll be all Zeon Chriss. All right. And so, in fact, he says Chris has gotten every meaningful rep throughout the spring. That's a lot. All right. Mike Desmond said, I think he started great, had 2 practices in the middle that weren't to the standard he wants to play, and I was really proud he got to see him respond. He bounced back and finished really strong. That's going to happen, right? Not every practice is a good practice. Happens all the time. So I'm really pleased with the steps Zeon has taken. He's really learned the pass protections to the point where now he can go out there and he's really comfortable with it. So that's the big step when we're talking about it's not like his first time he's playing quarterback. I always love these guys where they're a rookie. Yeah, but he didn't just come down from Mars, right? He's been playing quarterback for a long time, right? A lot of these guys in the pros. Well, that's a rookie mistake. Yeah, but what did the guy who's been playing 8 years just made the same mistake? And it's a cop-out, right? Usually these kids, especially the quarterbacks, right, playing in junior high, high school, college, they got a decade of experience. Now the game's faster, right? And the defense is better, but so is the offense. So I always like those things when that's the case. But here, when you can stop thinking about it and just doing it, right? Like you see the coverage, throw it. And that's the way, Billy Napier would always talk about Levi Lewis. He throws the ball to depending on the coverage. We're not going to that guy if he's covered. He's going to see that or the blitz or whatever the case may be and go into the other direction. All right. So we'll see how good Zeon Chriss is. And, is he a legitimate threat to be the starting quarterback for the Ragin Cajuns? come September. All right, running backs. Chris Smith is gone. You do have, let's see here, redshirt sophomore Draylon Washington and redshirt freshman Zylan Perry. So a couple of young guys. All right. Draylon has really stepped up his game, said Matt Bergeron. Understands the offense. Had an exceptional spring. All right. He's changed his approach, wanting to be the guy. You can kind of see the mental switch that went off in his mind. He's made tremendous progress. Probably the same thing, right? And with the thing that you got to play with all the passing game, you got to be able to pick up the protections, and that's a big deal. Back in the day, had Damien Pierce on, right? He runs for the Texans, former Florida Gator. He's like, if you're not blocking, you weren't playing. And it was the first thing that he said when he came on the show and on the Senior Bowl show with Jim Nagy. And he was great, and that's a big deal. So, again, just like quarterback, once you stop, you recognize what you have to do, and you can be, a heartbeat faster than if you're thinking about it. All right. Speaking of someone who was playing quarterback, Perry successfully made the transition from quarterback at Franklin High to running back. Really good grasp of pressing, blocks, and understanding the real keys. Zylan's a very smart player, so he's caught on to the offense very quickly. I'm excited to see what the future is. All right. So, as per usual, the Ragin Cajuns are loaded at running back. That has not been a problem since Alonzo Harris and Eli McGuire. Brain cramp. Sorry, Eli. They just had running back after running back after running back after running back. Okay. Let's continue here. Collect ourselves. Locked on Sunbelt, your team every day. We're talking Ragin Cajuns. Again, not necessarily spring game, but spring competitions. And looking at what the positions to look for are during this competition. All right. Let's see what the wide receivers are. Jacob Bernard and Peter LeBlanc, loaded with experience. Lance Legendre exudes talent, but there's nothing but question marks after that. All right. I don't mind saying, a little bit disappointed. I don't know if he was banged up or not, but Peter LeBlanc came to the Ragin Cajuns, and he was really good, really fast. Didn't he have that long touchdown against Iowa State? And boy, I think it was Mike Golick who was doing that game. And, they show a replay, and I think Mike said, before he saw the replay, like he made a move when, no, he didn't. He just ran right past the defender. And Mike was like, wow, he just ran right past him. So let's see if Peter LeBlanc, again, I don't know if he has been gone for 3.5 years. I don't know if he's not been healthy or what the case has been. But it'd be nice to see Peter LeBlanc take that next step. All right. Redshirt freshman Charles Robertson is one to keep an eye on. All right. Tim Leger says he'll be right in the middle of it. He's long, more physical version of the guys that got out of here. I'm excited about Charles. He's over 6 foot, almost 190 pounds. Tough as heck, and he can really run. He'll contribute on special teams and be a valuable player for us on the offensive side. All right. Leger also said Rob Williams might be the toughest cover we have out here right now. All right. In the secondary, you know what? We'll come back because these guys, God, I think I saw these guys play high school football. At least one of them. Saw him play a little high school football. But let's take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll wrap things up with, let's see here, the secondary and the pass rush for the Louisiana Ragin Cajuns. They are playing the Vermillion and White ball game tonight at Cajun Field, but more of a competition because you only got one quarterback. So everyone wants to see who the quarterback is going to be. Although here's the thing. If Ben Wooldridge was healthy, he's the guy, right? So I think that's where we are. We'll see when he's available. He didn't get hurt. He got hurt in November. So is he going to be really ready in September? That's fast. It's 10 months. But Zeon Chriss seeing if he can take advantage of it. Again, special thanks to everybody who's been turning in. We've been getting comments from around the league. Had a nice gentleman talk about App State, and he questioned. He's like, I'm doubting App State. And I go, probably a little bit. Yeah, we just don't know who their quarterback is going to be. And then he ran down all the things that he kind of questioned, although he pointed out some of the strengths that they have. But I appreciate the back and forth. He suggested to get somebody to come on the show, which I will. And so I appreciate that. But again, I don't know the quarterbacks at App State right now because they've always, had some real experienced ones. It was like they had guy like back-to-back 3 or 4 year starters, and then Chase Bryce, who's been playing college football forever. He was there for a couple of seasons, so you can see why. I don't know if I'm underestimating App State, but it's more along the lines of tell me who their quarterback is going to be and how good, he is, and then we'll determine it, right? Because, you got Grace McCall coming back. Marshall's defense is really good. JMU's offense is really good. And so we'll see. Also, who's JMU's quarterback. So we got all of that. But again, we're almost up to 170 subscribers. Really appreciate it. If we can continue to grow, and again, could, use a little help, maybe with the College World Series, something along those lines. See if we get a Sun Belt team in that, either baseball or softball, would be a big help to the podcast. But again, thanks very much. Keep those comments coming. I will reply. Please share it. Please like it on YouTube. And again, wherever you get your podcast from, you can find Locked On Sunbelt. Easy find. Just search Locked On Sunbelt. All right, let's wrap things up. Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. I'm your host, Dave Schultz. Let's talk about 2 more areas for the Ragin Cajuns heading into the Vermillion and a white ball game tonight. Eric Guerrer from Mobile and Braylon Trahan, who played at Acadiana. He's been right. He didn't go to Lafayette, right? Didn't he play? Hold on. I got to find out where he went to high school. It was Acadiana here, right? Let's see here. He's from Lafayette, but he went to Acadiana. That's correct. I'm right. I got that one right. All right. But I thought I got someone playing high school. He's been playing college football forever. These guys can rent cars, although they're not playing football now or not playing college football anymore. The point is that they were gone. But these guys have played forever. Eric Guerrer was a great player. So was Braylon Trahan. Really good for the Ragin Cajuns 4 years. Redshirt cornerback Amir McDaniel likes what he's seen so far. All the DBs came together as a whole. We've been better with the communication and getting the calls and checks down. We're more fluent in the back. We're seeing the same things at the same time. We're talking about it in a meeting room before we get to practice instead of trying to figure out at practice. High school quarterback Jalen Clark is now at safety, and he's turned heads this spring, along with Courtline Flowers and Tyree Skipper. So that's a switch. You would presume that Jalen Clark played a little bit of safety. He's going from the guy who doesn't want to get hit to doing the hitting. He had to play both sides of the ball. You would think that is not the easiest of all switches, but obviously a very athletic kid to go from quarterback to safety. So we'll see and keep an eye on him tonight as well. All right, the pass rush. You got new starters, Mason Narcisse and Antoine Bayless. Kadarius Miller, according to Kevin Foote, need to progress quickly. Then there's that offensive line a year ago, the biggest question mark. 1 year later, it may be the team's biggest strength, which, again, it had been for years. You got a couple of guys in the pros. You got that were playing on the line at the same time, and then a couple more guys, and then it just seems to keep on going out. One of the guys from the Florida Gators, Osiris Torrance was a Ragin Cajun, and he could be the first guard taken in the NFL draft. So he's got first-round pick written all over him. So we will be at the Ragin Cajuns Vermillion and White spring competition. And we'll report back. Really interested to see Zeon Chriss. Saw him a little bit in the Independence Bowl. But we'll see all of them tomorrow, right? I mean, he's the only one that's throwing. So maybe Tim Leger will get in there and give Zeon Chriss you can only do so much, right? He's, I mean, even in a football game, especially Ragin Cajuns, if they throw it over 30 times, that's a lot. He's gonna throw more than that, if he's doing both sides of this thing. So again, we will be there live for the Ragin Cajuns spring game. All right, we will have a recap. We'll do that. We'll recap it and report back for Friday's episode. All right. Once again, you've been watching Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. I'm your host, Dave Schultz. Thanks so much for tuning in and have a great day. And we'll talk to you again on Friday.